everyone. I'm Melissa Samuels, Director of Alumni Programs at the UAlbany Alumni Association. I'd like to introduce our speaker today. Lisa Pratt-Sanchez, class of 94, is the owner of Jorions LLC, a business consulting firm. Jorions provides practical and customized solutions to help organizations build high-performing teams, develop effective leadership skills, and create a positive work culture. Lisa, so excited to have you with us today. Thank you.
I am glad to be here, Melissa. Thank you.
All right, I will turn it over to you and I will see you for the Q&A.
Right, let us get started. Hello, all. Glad you're here this afternoon, and many thanks, Melissa, for all that you do. You've certainly made this process seamless. It is my absolute pleasure to be with you all today as we navigate uncertainty in a changing environment by looking at one of our childhood games, tag. Hopefully this will bring back some good memories for you as it did for me. As Melissa stated, I am a UAlbany graduate, and I did receive a Bachelor of Science, yes, in 1994 from the School of Business. I did major in Management Information System. And before we get started, I really do want to give a shout out and acknowledgement to some of my greatest supporters here at UAlbany. And I'm hoping that you had similar supporters as well. So first, I want to acknowledge Dr. Carson Carr. He was our beloved director of the Educational Opportunity Program. I also want to acknowledge John Lovato, and John Lovato was the Assistant Dean of the School of Business. And last but certainly not least, Carl Martin, who was the Assistant VP of Student Affairs. Now, these individuals had an open door policy. They were there for me. I would like to think only for me, but they weren't. They were there for everyone, and I'm so grateful for that. They were available to assist with questions. They provided available resources. They were able to share with me internship classes I should take or not, or just be there listening to some of my many crazy ideas and plans. I am so forever grateful for what they have done, and they will always hold a special place. So as we continue on, let's get into it. The author for this quote is unknown, but it really resonated with me. And it stated that the best time to start was yesterday. The next best time is now. I believe this applies to all facets of life. Professionally, we need to stay informed of what is going on in our industry, and we also need to be engaged with our company as well as our departments. It is a must to understand your climate, especially if you're looking for your next move in advancing your career or just doing something different. Well, if that's you, I am glad you're here because you are in the right place, and I would love for us to get into it. So just to give you a heads up, we will be going into pregame, what happens before you play the game, what happens during, and what happens after. So in our pregame, we're talking about the game of tag, right? Are you ready for a change? Do you feel like you are? Maybe it's business as usual, or you're just in the zone. Whatever it is, someone is going to come along and tap you. That's how tag works. Someone taps you, sometimes whether you want it or not. You may have blinders on and have limited awareness as to the activities that may be happening around you that you may not have planned for. So how do you mitigate those risks? What kind of standard operation procedures do you have that's potentially changing? Your culture may have some challenges, and you may say, you know what, I'm going to live with it. But maybe you don't, maybe you can't just live with it. Maybe you have to adjust. So I would like for you to think about those activities going on in your organization. What is the current state of affairs? Do you have business transformation activities going on? Are roles being redefined? Are there any potential restructuring? or optimization of processes? What are you hearing at your water cooler talks? Better yet, what's word on the street? What is shifting? How clued in really are you in your environment and work dynamics? What is happening to you, the people around you, the tools you may be using, or the processes? Well, whatever it is, we want to move forward and we want to look at what's going on. So let's get right into it for the game insights. Now, tag, you feel free to put in the chat a yay or a nay. Did you know tags was an acronym and it stood for something? Well, I recently found out and mind blown, needless to say. Tag actually means touch and go. And by thinking about it, it makes sense because when you play tag, you're touching and you're running, right? Or you're chasing someone. The game of tag teaches us fundamental skills about our movements, how to stay physical and active. It requires us to be agile. It requires balance and coordination, as well as being aware of our surroundings and just the space around us. So before I get into it, let's just take a look at this video and learn a little bit more, reminisce a little bit about the game. I'm sorry about that. It seems like I didn't have sound on here. And just word of caution, when you're sharing your screen, there is a button that says share sound as well. So we're going to move on, but if you may be able to have gotten the gist about seeing the players on the playing field and how they're navigating around. And if you remember tag, they have a few folks that one person is it and the other ones are running. If you look at the game of tag, I didn't realize how many variations of the game it was. And if you were able to hear the video, you would have heard that their freeze tag that you may have remembered. Duck Duck Goose is a form of tag. I didn't remember that. There's sock tag, there's Band-Aid tag, there's everyone is it tag, there's laser tag, all types of tags. But essentially, the gist of the game is to focus and tag your target, which could be one or many players. And if you want to connect the dots to today's world, which is what we're going to focus on today, is coincidentally, as professionals, we must practice similar basic skills. So in order to thrive in our organization, of course, we know actions are required for continued growth and development. So let's look at some of the players. In tag, keeping it very simple, but this should be relatable for you in your office as well. Players come with different levels of participation. Their involvement are different, And the relationship shifts based on their engagement, their involvement, as well as their participation. So if you look at that, let's start with the it person. The it person, the it person, right, is that main participant who may be willing or unwilling, but somehow keeps the game in motion. The goal of the it person is to seek another target and lead the pack. Willing participants are engaged. They're asking questions. Where do we go? Where are the boundaries? Who is it? And they're inviting others to join. They're normally very cheerful. They're putting in the time and the energy. And then we have runners. They're engaged, but they don't want to get caught at all. Certainly do not want to be it. They're all over the place, running for a place to hide sometimes. Observers are bystanders, which bystanders that are watchful eyes. They're looking in to see what's going on. They may even be cheering you on the sidelines. Go run, he's coming. But also can create chaos and noise, and you probably won't be able to hear what's going on in the game. Those are the observers. And last but not least are the non-participants who are oblivious to what's going on around them, and they just refuse to engage. Does this resonate with you? Do you see yourself or anyone else on your team in these roles? I certainly do. Well, with that being said, let's take a look and go more into the playing field. In any organization, they have varying types of dynamics. And so you have to understand the business landscape, the people that are around you, and how things are moving and going. You're encouraged to stay abreast of what's happening. How informed are you on your company's mission and vision? Can you articulate it? Do you know the type of business you're in? Or even your customers? How aligned are you with the culture? Does it resonate with you and your values? Are there any growth opportunities upward or across, right? A lot of people think you have to move upward when it comes to opportunities, but there are also opportunities that you could be in the same level, but you're having a new skill and a new job role and title. Are you taking stock of the new team members that are coming in, that are getting hired from outside? What skills are they coming in that you may not have? And how do you stay abreast of that? How relevant and relatable are potentially your role? Make sure you're not losing yourself in the busyness of work and you're not growing or just getting by. If there's been a recent restructuring in your organization, what is the climate like in the surroundings? What is happening inside and outside the areas that you can control or not? Similar to what we saw in the game of tag. Now, as we move forward, this is always one that you will get probably the same answers or similar answers that resonate. But I want to go into asking you, what is most important from work life? And from taking the poll as to what's important from work life, this is what the survey is saying. In today's marketplace, employees place more value on fulfillment rather than their paycheck. Of course, it's going to be up there because you're working to get paid, vice versa. But recent studies have shown that fair wages is one of the things that folks are focused on because they want to have enough money to accomplish the things that they desired. They also are looking for feedback for professional development, and feedback needs to be timely, it needs to be honest, and it needs to be constructive. The other one that we see is sense of purpose, alignment with your values, and making a difference. And there we go back to the company mission and vision. How well does that align to your values? We also want clear goals to be measured upon. So when we're getting feedback, It is related to your goals as to what's working and what's not, and how you can adjust. Work-life balance is something else that folks are looking for, and that is flexible working hours, being able to be remote or virtual, meaningful time off. There is not much to say if you have a month of vacation, including personal time, but whenever you're taking off, you are always glued to your phone because someone may be calling you. They don't know how to engage or do the job without you being there. So folks want the balance of having meaningful time off. We're also looking for good leader. Who doesn't want a good leadership? Competence is also another one as we look at it, right? Your ability to learn and grow and feeling like you can take risk, right? And not being actually negatively addressed when things don't work out. So that environment of growth. Your physical and mental well-being is one that comes up a lot, and that also resonates with me. Respect is also high on the list of feeling appreciated, being able to resolve conflicts in a respectful manner, as well as having constructive feedback as to what we can do differently. And then last but certainly not least is the sense of freedom, your ability to be flexible and to get the job done when you need to get it done, as opposed to micromanaging and not knowing when things are really needed and being confused, I should say. Hopefully this is resonating, but from we see from the poll, it does. So as we get it, let's get into the game. It's time to get into the game. Now that you're more aware of what's to come, here we are. In the game of tag, as you see from the photo, someone is blindfolded, right? And that's the person that normally can't see the environment. They don't know what's going on. But when you're in the game, blindfold or not, all players normally you would expect would have a heightened sense of awareness. As we know, there are going to be some changes to the play. There'll be change and transformation. It could be a little chaotic, and you may even be caught off guard. So with that, let's go into our environment. Now, I listed few of the ones that resonated with me, but also comes up time and time again in speaking engagements, in having group discussions. How are we incorporating these in our organization? So artificial intelligence, having that synergy between our AI algorithms that we use in our personal and professional life. If you have a phone, if you have a smart TV, even in your car, AI is being used. But having that synergy between the AI algorithm and human behavior and finding a balance between the two. The way we are using AI is to enhance the efficiency and increase that user experience. And we see that virtual assistants, folks are using it for personalization, and we see it every time you write. I mean, you have an assistant there trying to translate for you. But there are many facets to it, and it is a trend that's not going away anytime soon. Being hybrid, I'm actually working from home, and that is comfortable, but sometimes you have to go into the office. And although we see companies are staying hybrid to some degree, you're seeing more returns to the office. There is something to be said for human to human interaction. Our people, our tools, and our technology is taking that into account. We also learn about being inclusive, which is part of being hybrid. And last month's webinar had some good insights into that. Whether you're virtual or in the office, I encourage you to stay engaged by effectively communicating with your team, being coordinated, being connected, having a creative culture where everyone feels that they can contribute. Emotional intelligence is part of your relationship and building awareness, mainly about yourself, being self-aware as how you're interacting and how you are engaging with others. But being really emotionally intelligent is you have a lifelong desire to learn and to be open to change, to be resilient, building a solid and healthy relationship with your team, and as well as understanding yourself. And then as we move forward, analytics has been around for a while, and it's not just a tool, guys, it's a necessity. Regardless of whatever business you're in, whether you're technical or non-technical, having data will empower your company in making smarter decisions, fine-tuning your customer experiences, essentially just having smoother operations overall so you can have a more competitive advantage. And more importantly, it helps you to mitigate your risk. So as you can see, if you are not aware of what your climate is in your organization, I encourage you, if you're in an organization or looking for a job, these are areas that you should be abreast on of what's happening. So look at our timeout slide. Does anyone know what quiet hiring is or quiet quitting? Well, it's becoming more of a trend. And quiet hiring is there's work needs to be done. Your company is being a little bit risk averse. And so instead of bringing in additional team members, they're actually bringing on additional tasks to the individual. And so it may comes in the form of a new role or new responsibility, and it could be temporary or it could be permanent due to the need. I also saw it recently referred to on LinkedIn as a dry promotion, which you're getting the title, but you're not having a pay raise. Believe it or not, more than 60% of people see it as an opportunity to try a new role and to gain new skills. And if it's handled incorrectly, it can lead to burnout and skill gaps. But if it's handled correctly, your team thrive and it's a win-win to some degree. On the flip side, when you look at burnout, we're talking about the next concept, which is quiet quitting. It refers to doing the bare minimum. So now this is you doing the bare minimum of your job. You're putting in little to no time or effort, and you're not very enthused about what's going on. This not only impact the individual that's quiet quitting, but most time than not, it is impacting the team as a whole because now there's lost trust. There's no confidence that we can get the job done overall, or someone is taking on more responsibility. It creates inefficiencies as well as just overall toxic environment, which, as I stated, it impacts productivity. Now, being not so quiet, what do I mean about that? I mean that you speak up. You are proactive by looking to learn something new, which is great. But if it's offered to you, then, and you want to know more information, I would just say ask. Feel free to have that open and honest conversation with your manager, with your teams as to what this means. But look on the bright side. If it's done correctly, as we state, you're enhancing your skills, you're building more into your toolbox than you had before. I have a coach, and my coach would say to me, you have the opportunity to say yes, no, or negotiate something different. And that always stayed with me. Now, one of my many Lisa-isms, which you'll see throughout the presentation, and I use this one to remind myself, sometimes daily, is I am of good value and values. I am valued. I'm going to say that again. I am of good value and values. I am valued. And what I'm saying to you is that you should know your worth. So if this is happening around you, seek out feedback, seek out what folks are saying and what do you need to do to ensure that you are getting also, it's a win-win situation. Hopefully this is resonating with you. Now let's go into the rules of engagement. Here's another unknown, a quote by Unknown. It states, you become unstoppable when you work on things people can't take away from you. Things like your mindset, your character, and personality. Wow. This is why I state you play hard but stay soft. And what does that mean? Your skill set or your skill set? Your hard skills are, what is the job that you're doing, right? What is your profession? For me, I'm a project manager, change manager, business relationship manager, all of the above. These are hard skills that I have certification in, and I've been doing it for many years. But in recent poll by LinkedIn, it shows that 92% of talent professionals believe soft skills are just as important or even more than hard skills. You will see when you're getting interviewed lately, if you're interviewing, there are behavioral questions that are being asked. Those questions are being asked. They could tell what your hard skills are. They could look up if you're certified. They could ask you those technical skills. But the behavioral interview questions are more to look at the softer side. So you may get questions about leadership. How have you led? Maybe when your manager is not around or when someone is not there to take up the slack. How have you done that? You may be, adaptability is one that comes up, and one of the questions may be, tell me about your biggest change you had to deal with and how did you adapt? There's another one that the research has stated, and it's culture add. Now, this is music to my ears because company are now seeing that it's not enough to just preserve the existing culture. You can't just hire folks that are like you to do the things that you do. In order for you to grow and evolve, you need people that are a little different. So with that being said, you may get a question that says, what's the most interesting thing about you that's not on your resume? And I would encourage you that you know what that is. Have something in your back pocket. For example, you may say, oh, I like to garden. Sometimes I take time out and I prune and it just gives me a time to reflect. But also I'm realizing that I'm having a green thumb. Oh, and you know what? I've taken up pickleball lately and that's actually been very good. That's just an example. I don't play pickleball, but thought I'll throw that in there. Growth potential is another one that comes up, and they want to know, how have you volunteered to do more than what your job state? How have you expanded your knowledge at work? Also, you may be asked question about how you've worked with a team, how you've collaborated with someone else, how do you prioritize your work? All of that are related to soft skills. Hopefully you are aware of these and you have training materials that can help you further develop these skills. So as a certified change manager, I love to share what ProSci, is doing because it is relevant. We know that the only constant in life is change. Isn't that the truth? With ADKAR, it focuses on organizational and individual changes. So the A is awareness of the need for change. D is the desire to participate and support the change. K is knowledge of how to change, right? And then there's another A, which is the ability to implement required skills and behavior. And finally, R is reinforcement to support the change. And normally your company and the leaders, they are ahead of the change cycle, leading the change, which means that as the individual, you kind of have to get up to speed. In ADKAR, D, desire is the most difficult And do you want to know why? Because it involves individual choice. It's a choice. You have the choice to decide to change or not to change. As we look at change, this is another model that I have created that I want to talk a little bit about today. And it's the get unstuck model. This is Lisa's get unstuck model. So when you look at the model, I'm going right back. Sorry about that. When you look at the model, it's how what do you decide to do? Do you want to be motionless or you want to get in motion? And then you want to have consistent motion. As you progress through the cycle, the goal is to get unstuck, right? So in motionless, that's someone that's in denial, kind of. It's why me? Why is this happening? I didn't want to play tag. Remember, I'm the non-participant. I'm not ready. I don't see a need for change. This is the stuck state. The get in motion state are the people that are like, oh, there's a game. I don't know how to play the game, but maybe I'll observe a little and see what happens. So they're a little bit cautious and curious. They have, they may be reacting once I get tagged, maybe I have to run. What do I do? But they recognize that there's a need and they're trying to figure out where they stand in that. So this is more of the safeguard state. And then the final state is consistent motion. When you're here, it's not that you're like, yeah, change come my way, but we know change. What do we say? Change is constant. So these are individuals that's asking themselves, why not me? I know this is going to happen. So what do I do now? Company decide to restructure. I'm no longer part of that team. What am I going to do to move forward? So they're open, they're seeking opportunity, they're more aware, and they have a desire and need to adapt. That is the unstuck model. Remember, as you are in these stages of change, this is another one that I put together, is to be sharp, be supportive, be human. We all need, remember, this too, you probably have gone through similar things that someone else is going through right now. Be approachable, be real, and also be proactive. If you see a change coming your way, make sure you're being proactive in following up as to what this means and how you'll be impacted. So as you go through the change, recognize and realize that everyone's journey is different and be mindful of others. Be sharp. All right, now we're in the home stretch, post game. What have I learned? What are those things that are now in my toolbox that I can take with me? What I will say about this is, in the post game, even though you may say, yay, the game is over, I no longer have to play. News is it's cyclical and it will occur time and time again, maybe show up a little different. And you see that in your personal and professional life, that change will happen, and it's what do we do to move forward? I kind of love this model. This is with a company, it's Equipped for Life coaching, and it's talking about what I can control and what I can't. What does that mean? We've learned, or you should know, that worrying about the things we cannot control achieves nothing. It keeps you stuck and it keeps you in a state of fear. It's kind of in that stuck state that we just looked at. You have the power to move forward and get in motion and to focus on what's in your control. I was doing a presentation the other day and someone says to me, do you know this correlates to the serenity prayer? And I said, actually, it does. Which states, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So you can change your state of mind, for example, how much energy you're going to put to something. Things of, oh, my company decide to restructure, I'm no longer there. That's out of your control. So what are you going to do to make sure that you can move forward? And again, it starts with that mental state, emotional state, and physically you have to do something different. Now, as we get into our next poll, we want to talk about and what how is it you utilizing your resources. So let's look at that. So as we look at this, it talks about what skills will deliver the most career advantage. And you can see that communication ranks high, and we saw that in the poll. Problem solving is next. Collaborative leadership is the other one, as well as strategic thinking. How are you staying current and relevant in the job market? What are you doing to keep your skills abreast? Now, this goes back to those soft skills. If you're able to take any classes, you could also utilize LinkedIn training. They have training, but your company probably have some as well. How to handle conflict, how to have difficult conversation, how do you effectively communicate? I belong to Toastmasters, and that has helped tremendously. And how do you bring clarity to the messaging that you're moving forward with? How do you show care and empathy for others, probably, or stay committed to what your company goals are, or to yourself? So take these with you, and these will help you to refuel, refresh, and refill your toolbox and help you as you continue to move forward. I will say to you, this is the project manager side of me, is practice these things, practice this play as you continue forward. Ensure to create an action plan. Ensure to write steps of things that you need to do, whether you're in your job or you're looking for a job. If you're thinking of it, write it down so you could plan for it. Build solid relationship. Look for people that will support you on your journey, that are sharing insight, that will give you feedback, that will be your cheerleader, but also they will be constructive. They'll be real and honest with you. And make time, manage your time effectively. So not only put the plan together and leave it there, but make sure you're putting time that is relevant and that you can manage and move forward. And this is another one I love to do is give back. Remember, the position that you're in and you've gotten out of, as far as change, someone else is probably in it. So don't forget to look back and lend a helping hand. And I also like The Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's a book he talks about their behavioral changes. If you want to do something different, create a habit. And there are 4 steps to the behavioral change. There's 1, to make it obvious. 2, make it attractive. 3, make it easy. Don't get these, with resolution. I want to lose however many pounds within 2 weeks. Make it easy. Do it over time. And lastly, make it satisfying. So I know that I want to exercise more. So for me, I have my sneakers so I could see it, or I have stuff in the way that could kind of remind me that I want to do it. And if I have time on my hand, I may go out for a few minutes and just have a walk. Making it attractive, I listen to some music and I dance and I move around. So I am staying active, but I'm also enjoying what I'm doing. Don't work out doing something that you don't enjoy. Do something that you enjoy. Again, practice these play. Now, as we wrap up, another Lisa-ism, stay ready. And what do you mean, Lisa, by staying ready? Be relevant, be relatable to others, make people know what you are, what you can do, what you're capable of, what you're looking for. Stay encouraged and engaged. So be engaged with what's going on around you. Stay active, but also remember to be approachable so others can engage with you. Stay determined and diligent in whatever goals you have, or making sure that, again, you are looking at what you're in control of. And last but not least is stay you. Avoid imposter syndrome. Know your value and your worth. Don't beat yourself up, by you doing something or trying to be something that you're not. After a while, it wears on you and it gets exhausting. So I will encourage you not to let your self-doubt stifle your productivity and you being creative. Be your authentic self. Someone will have an appreciation for that. Again, I'm hoping this resonates with you and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. So before I get into this, I just wanted, before I wrap up, just say thank you and I appreciate you. And just know that TAG is action oriented. It is an acronym and we know it means touch and go. But as you are in this world of uncertainty and change, for me, TAG means stay in the game by transforming and growing and making sure that you stay relevant. Here's my contact information that you could reach out to me if you want to learn more. And now I am going to turn it over to Melissa as we wrap up with some Q&A.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Lisa. Yeah, we have a few questions. So let's go ahead and jump right in. If you want to actually turn off your presentation, that'll allow folks to see us a little bit better. So I'll start with a question from Christina. She said, I've read that Steve Jobs has learned to maintain fixed habits and rituals as a way to counterbalance all the uncertainty and change that's a natural part of his work in being an entrepreneur. What do you think of this strategy for dealing with the stress uncertainty can cause?
I think it's great. It goes back to the habits that we have, right? Having atomic habits and getting your head in the game is good. One of my mentors, he gets up early. Well, a few of my mentors, they start their day earlier so they could get those things in that will clear their mind and keep them abreast of their environment. Simple as reading current events, what's happening, what's word on the street, how are folks reacting to some of the technology changes that are going on? How are you reacting to the industry? I was in the automotive industry, and when COVID happens, there were different things that we've learned that folks weren't buying new car anymore. They were buying used car because you know why? Because we weren't able to get those new cars in as fast as we needed to. So we had to shift and make sure that we were able to provide that. So just being aware of what's going on around you is good. So create those habits to stay engaged and to stay in the game for sure.
Okay, great. Sharon says, and this is more of a statement than a question, but I'd be interested to get your feedback. She says, when my office went through a period of major change, I found that collaborating with my colleagues really helped me and all of us. What do you think of that idea of collaboration as being a way to manage change?
I love that. We are not to do life by ourselves at all. And not to sound a little cliche-ish, but teamwork makes the dream work. So it's better to share your thoughts and ideas with others. You never know what others are thinking or going through. And to be able to do that and feel supported as a team is good. We know change is constant. So being able to have that strong unit and to be able to just talk through you may not have the power to slow the change down or do something different, but being on the same page and being aligned with your team members will make it easier for you to go through that cycle for sure.
Yeah, and I've certainly experienced that. Having a good team, just being able to talk to somebody, get a different perspective can be so valuable. So I have another question. I've been asked to take on a new role that I think I'm ready for, but the idea of it is making me really anxious. Can you suggest some ways I can deal with this better?
Yeah. So when we talk about, right, that it is good to expand your knowledge and your skills and change, fear is one of those things that creeps up because you're probably kind of self-doubting. Am I ready for this? I don't know what this role is. I've been doing this other job for so long. But think about the positive of it. You're expanding your knowledge. you're probably looking at different facets of the organization. And the good news is when you're in a company and you get additional responsibility and new role, now it's something else that you know. And you may not see it at the time, but it is something that will help you for future growth. So what I would say is talk to your manager about it. Ask more about the role so you can get comfortable. Talk to someone that's probably have done the role before,
Yeah.
right? And just research. But again, just as I told you before, you're valuable, you have values, and just make sure that it's aligning with where you want to go.
Okay, great. Monet says, I see likability being more valued at work than skill. How do we change that?
Likability, but valued more than skill.
Yeah.
It's one of those that it depends on the company culture. You know, I think skill is something that we do need. Likability may be one of those things. So it goes back to the hard and soft, right? Your skill is probably hard, but your likability is more of the soft skill. If you're seeing that that's happening in your environment, I would encourage you to talk about it. Share your concerns. Make sure that it's in a manner that is respected, right? And that whoever is on the receiving end is listening and open to hear your thoughts about it. We talk about, it's good to also know about what could you do differently, or maybe there is something that's happening that you're not aware of. But certainly there are avenues and opportunities in your organization that can help you if you feel that that is something that's happening. Of course, we want it to be an equal playing field and that you are valued not only for your skill, but for who you are and what you bring to the table.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, last question. Thomas says, why is resilience so important to managing change? And do you think that it is?
Resilience is important because if you remember the ADKAR model, where I said D is desire and it's the hardest one of it all, it requires the individual. It's an individual choice. So when you look at resilient, that impacts your thought mentally, emotionally, physically. It's you doing something, whether you're thinking different and you're doing something different. And it can't get done if your mind is not in the game, no pun intended. And it takes your effort, it takes your thoughts to really move forward. And I would say resilience is key. It's key to what how we move forward, and it's key to managing change. But it all starts with us as individuals. So it is something that is important for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, we're just about out of time and out of questions. So I think we're at a good spot. So Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you sharing some information on this topic. I hope everybody enjoyed the session. We are taking a little break with the career webinar series for the summer, but please look for us again in the fall. We will be back with some additional topics. And again, Lisa, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Melissa, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone that was in attendance.